Jim Jones and Dame Dash are locked in a loud online back and forth right now, and both sides are clearly trying to put each other on blast. This week alone, they each jumped on separate podcasts, trading sharp shots and throwing serious shade in public.
Dame's impact was on the Dipset.
Dame's impact on the Dipset was nothing.
On one platform, Jim Jones questioned Dame Dash's street reputation.
He was like an 8-year-old, like a younger kid running around with a clip-on tie.
While on another, Dame Dash clapped back and challenged Jim's credibility right back. This whole situation kicked off with Jim Jones first. During an interview, he was asked about Dame Dash's impact on Dipset and his role in Harlem, and instead of keeping it respectful, Jim talked down on Dame like he was irrelevant and never mattered. That set the tone, and from there, things spiraled fast. At the core of it, both Jim Jones and Dame Dash seem stuck fighting the same battle. They're both still chasing old wins and replaying past moments like it's proof of who they are today. One side is pushing street stories to validate status, while the other fires back with history and legacy talk.
Dame's impact was on the Dipset.
Dame's impact on the Dipset was nothing.
What his impact was in Harlem?
Dame impact in Harlem was nothing. Not to say it like that. Dame came up under hustlers. That impact was it. He was a little dude when it came to hustling in Harlem. He wasn't not no Rich Porter, none of that type of. He wanted to hustle. He wanted to hustle for like Rich Porter and shit like that. Dame from the East Side. We were when the niggas on the East Side is different from the niggas on the West Side. Now for the East Side, Dame was a big deal to us because we were little. When he was coming from the West Side, little car, jewelry, and all that. So when you're young, he's looking like Rich Porter, but in reality, no, he was like this. Go to the store, take a couple grams, get out of here. Not to take nothing away from him. You heard?
And even now, when Jim gets asked straight up, was Dame really a factor in Harlem? The tension is still heavy and unresolved.
There was an interview that Jim Jones did, and he said that you're not a boss, you're a worker. What do you have to say about that?
You know, someone called me about that, and I laughed because it's ridiculous, but I felt like Jim must have been giving me an alley-oop to front on him, so I will.
Okay.
How does a simple question jump straight to numbers and street stories like that? That question could have easily meant, tell us about Dame's work with the youth, or did he give back to his community, or did he push kids to do better? When someone asks if he was a factor in Harlem, the mind instantly going to the worst version possible says a lot. Instead of talking impact, mentorship, or positive influence, the focus flips to the darkest angle every time, and that choice shapes the whole narrative fast. Then Dame Dash jumps on camera too, on a podcast in this era, and starts talking openly about his past like it's a badge of honor.
But with him bringing Dip in to the RocAFella.
You're talking about two different things. You're talking about the streets and you're talking about the music and shit like that.
No, I was talking about the streets.
I'm not saying he wasn't a hustler in the streets.
Right.
You heard? But he wasn't the big dog. He wasn't that. He just had a couple packs like everybody else in Harlem. You heard? His name doesn't ring bells for being the hustlers in Harlem. He made a movie called Paid in Full. He wasn't in the movie.
Right.
His character was nowhere in that movie. So I don't want people to get up here and be like, yo, he's trying to do something. No,
Tell your man
nigga.
to with a something.
He was just an actor
Yeah,
in the
code. Yeah, you know,
the movie's about Rich Porter and all those guys. Dame was not a character in that movie. He's not a Rich Porter. They didn't change Dame name to Kane or Kane. They changed Rich name to Mitch.
Right.
You heard? Like, he wasn't one of those figures. He was a hustler growing up adoring those type of figures.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
At around 60 years old, he's on record discussing old street moves, naming codes, and referencing other people for online validation.
And the people that he's rapping about in a lot of his records, like Rich Porter and Lou Sims, these are people I actually used to hustle with. Now, at 15, I'm not gonna say I was a legend at hustling. I wasn't, I was 15. But the people that we were looking up to, by the time I got to their age, I had definitely made more money than them, and I was more impactful as it relates to culture, because it wasn't being known for selling drugs. I was never known for selling drugs. But what you won't do, you could ask Lou Sims if he ever sent me to the store, or ask anybody that you know that was in that world that ever sent me to the store. See, I never hustled with Jim, and I don't think he ever bought a car till it was with rap money. It was never a street thing. I knew him as Jomo, and it's not a bad thing. It was his name, and he was like an 8-year-old, like a younger kid running around with a clip-on tie, and he lived in 1199 at Dave's house, because I guess whatever it was, he lived. So I never really knew him as, like, growing up. He was always a little kid.
Yeah.
But Fredo, Cameron brought him around, and I was like, why are you with Jomo? And he was like, well, and he admitted this, well, he has a crib we go to, we just using him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, all right, it's Jomo. But he's done what he's had to do. But, you know, he wasn't there to say that. But if he can say that, like Dookie, I used to hustle with Dookie. He was my lieutenant.
Not Dookie. I thought he was calling the man Dookie.
Yeah, you were wrong. Pause.
Pause.
Duke the God is, we call him Dookie, pause.
Okay.
But Duke the God is with the Dipset. I used to hustle with him.
That's wild behavior in today's climate, especially when clips live forever and context always gets lost online. Now look, people might say the statute of limitations has passed on stories from his 20s, and legally that may be true, but publicly there's no expiration date on messy storytelling or oversharing. Once it's out there, and no amount of backtracking puts that toothpaste back in the tube. There's really no upside to hopping online and straight up confessing to old crimes like it's content. Even if someone argues the statute of limitations has passed and says, it's just my story, that still doesn't give a free pass to drag other people into it or tag them with serious allegations. That's where things cross the line fast. Dame didn't just talk about himself, he started labeling others, assigning roles, and painting detailed pictures that don't need to be public at all.
You could ask him if he ever seen someone send me to the store, but I was always known in the position as somewhat of a boss, and all I did was pass the plug to them. They were like, they always looked up to me at that time, but I was never big time as a drug dealer, but I did have a crew called The Best Out, and we were the youngest crew, and we were legendary. We was all getting money.
Calling someone a lieutenant in that era carries heavy meaning, and anyone from the culture knows that. You don't casually throw titles like that around without serious implications. The way he was talking, it sounded like a full rundown, like he was trying to prove every detail was real for the camera. That kind of talk might feel bold in the moment, but it's reckless, and once it's out there, there's no rewind button.
What's your relationship with Dame today?
I ain't got no relationship with Dame.
Right.
Never had one?
Yeah, I know Dame since I was 6.
Yeah, I'm saying you know him, but you know, people know people, but don't
I
have.
know him since I was 6, I said.
Yeah.
We lived in the same building.
Okay.
The same building. You heard? The same building. I played on the second floor with everybody. Same
Mace had
building.
impact in Harlem?
No. After he did music.
Right. After he did music, right.
After he did music. Ken was a basketball player. He had his own little influence because he was dumb nice at basketball.
They both.
Basketball. You heard?
Right. That was a skit when y'all was playing basketball and threw the ball and get up.
That was a skit.
I say these, I think that's a skit, yeah.
Mace was talented. He was a dancer. And Mace didn't excel at the rapping really to after high school they started getting on and shit like that, and then he excelled and started getting on first and signed first, and then now help Cam and everybody get on and shit like that.
Now, Jim Jones didn't stop there either. On the same podcast run, he brought up other issues with Dame Dash, and this part rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Jim went out of his way to downplay Dame's role in Dipset, acting like Dame had zero influence at all. He framed it like Dipset was already buzzing before RocAFella even entered the picture, which rewrites history in a way that's bound to spark backlash. The narrative that Dipset was already hot and that Dame Dash did nothing but chase them into a deal is a wild oversimplification.
When he canceled out the street side of it and go into the music business of it, what was his impact with Dipset at that time?
He didn't have no impact with Dipset. Dipset, we made our impact on our own. He signed us. We were signed to entertainment. We were signed to a whole different infrastructure. We were signed to entertainment.
Right.
We had nothing to do with RocAFella at all until after the 2000s, bro. Remember that. You heard? Diplomats was already outside. Mixtape after mixtape after mixtape before we signed the deal. We did that.
Yeah,
They didn't have
you
nothing to
built your
do
own.
with it.
You saying you
All
built
they
your
did
own
was
impact.
gave us a home.
You putting the nigga on.
And gave us some spotlight for us to blow up. We already put the work in.
Right.
Anywhere we would have went was going to be a boom. We already had the streets. They didn't help us get the streets.
It's just funny, like I said, we come from down south, so to us it's like
That's a whole lot.
because
That's a whole lot.
that's
the way
saying,
we
huh,
see
son?
it.
That's
Yeah.
where we signed, but they didn't. No, that's not where Diplomats
Right.
started at. This Diplomats hype started in the streets. There was nobody that could take that away from us. We were the biggest thing in New York City, hands down. The hottest thing in New York City. The music, the fashion, the gangs, everything. And there was nothing no one could do with us. The smartest thing for anybody to do with us was to do a deal. And Kevin Lyles was going to sign us to a deal. And when Dame seen that, he said when Dame seen he was losing his position to sign us because we were in the building, he had to double back like, nah, Kev, you can't sign it. You got to. We signing that here. So you heard, it wasn't until Kevin took a meeting with us to make Dame double down on making sure that we signed up at RocAFella.
That take does a real disservice to what was actually built together over time. Yeah, Dame Dash is known for being abrasive and difficult. That's not breaking news. But you can't seriously deny how much Dame helped Dipset move from street buzz to real industry motion. He didn't just show up once. He was hands-on day to day, making calls, opening doors, and pushing their vision when it mattered most. Dame brought them into RocAFella, worked closely with them, and even had plans to elevate Cam to a major leadership role at one point. That's not nothing. That's major backing. It's one thing to say relationships are broken today. Cool, that happens. But trying to rewrite history and downplay Dame's role in their rise just doesn't sit right with a lot of fans. Being hot locally can get attention, but global records, worldwide impact, and legendary status don't just fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
But again, I'm pretty impressed with who I am and who I was and the things I did, and the fact that the people rap about are the people that I actually hustle with and actually was able to go another direction. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for him, he knows the algorithm.
Yeah.
And when you say Dame Dash, you go viral. And
I was gonna
appreciate
ask
Jim-
you if
I
that- do you
appreciate
think that
Jim
was
saying
more
that
a reason
so
for it?
that he could so that I could actually have a reason to talk about who I was and tell people to look under the hood. But if you know a 15, 16-year-old, and another thing is because I used to hang out uptown, so people from downtown, I'm from 1199, they weren't usually allowed to go uptown and hustle, and I was on one of the wildest blocks at the time in Harlem. So I got to make it out of a real circumstance. I didn't wait to get the rap to start to get money. I didn't wait to get the rap to start being tough. None of those things. And you can look under the hood. So I appreciate him bringing it up.
So
and
was
to the extent that I've made my paid in full OG stories, it's about my friends.
Without Dame's involvement, that level of reach might not have happened the same way. Instead of addressing that, Dame chose to focus on flexing old street credibility. And at his age, that focus felt misplaced and unnecessary. And this is where the whole situation really starts to feel off and uncomfortable. Instead of both sides taking a step back and speaking on legacy, business, or lessons learned, the conversation keeps drifting back into ego, pride, and who was really that guy back in the day. That energy feels outdated and forced, especially when both men have already secured their place in hip-hop history. Fans aren't asking for street scorecards or credibility contests anymore. People want clarity, accountability, and an honest breakdown of how these partnerships actually worked behind the scenes. Who made what moves, who opened which doors, and how those relationships eventually cracked is the real conversation worth having. When it turns into flexing, dismissing contributions, or trying to embarrass each other publicly, it cheapens everything they built. This isn't about picking sides, it's about calling out how messy this rollout looks. Two legends talking past each other instead of addressing the full picture only keeps the tension alive and the internet fed, even when the truth sits somewhere in the middle. Honestly, this whole thing just comes off embarrassing at this point. When men are in their 50s and 60s, the conversation should be way more elevated than replaying street talk from decades ago. People want to hear grown man perspectives now. Talk about legacy, purpose, and what you actually stand for today. Talk about the future, family, and how you're setting things up for your kids, grandkids, and even great-grandkids. That's real talk. A grandfather should have more wisdom to share than old street stories. Folks would rather hear how you're guiding the next generation, what lessons you learned the hard way, and what kind of man you want your family to remember. Those are the conversations that actually matter now. This back and forth just feels sad, because both Jim Jones and Dame Dash clearly have way more to offer than this surface level noise. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know how you see this whole situation. Make sure you like this video, share it, and subscribe to Dripzine so the channel keeps growing. And if you really want to support, smash the hype button to push this video in the algorithm. Every click counts, and I appreciate y'all for rocking with me.